In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the NCL Bliss versus the NCL Encore, and if you were heading to Alaska, which one we think has better itinerary.
And which one you should do. The two most popular NCL cruises to Alaska are on the Encore and the Bliss. They both offer 7-day itineraries, but they stop at different ports. Some similar, some different. This is our opinion on which ones we think are best, how we experience them, and what you could expect coming in as you're booking yours. Stay tuned to the end where we pick our favorite and which one we suggest that you should do. We have broken this down into 3 important categories. The visual appearance of the ship, the days where the ship leaves and returns, and then the itinerary, which is the most important in our opinion. Let's start with the visual appearance of the ship, Emma.
They are sister ships, so they are very, very, very similar. The Bliss came out first, and then the Encore, but...
The Bliss has bowling.
The Bliss did have bowling, which I do think was a fun...
It's like mini bowling.
But the Encore has the laser tag in the back. I think it's just a better setup. The go-karts is a lot bigger on it. I feel like just overall, like, decor and color-wise, it seems a little, like, brighter and a little airier, just a little bit.
But they are so similar.
They are very similar. I mean, everything else besides for the outdoor stuff is all on the same level, in the same space. Everything is extremely similar. They are sister ships after all. So the next category is days. They're both a 7-day itinerary, so same length. But I think the biggest difference is that the Bliss leaves on a Saturday. So if you're one of those people that like to make sure you're at the city that it leaves out of, in this case Seattle, the day before, you may have to take off on Friday. Where the Encore leaves on Sunday, so you can get in on Saturday, not have to take a day. You get back on Sunday, you can leave that same day, so you just have to take that week of vacation.
I would agree with that.
I think it's just something to note when you're trying to plan your trip and figure out your vacation days.
Okay, this is definitely the most important category that we're going to discuss. It's the itinerary. They're different, yet have some of the same ports. So what we'll go through is we'll go through the Bliss's itinerary and the Encore's itinerary, and then we'll kind of give you the opinions on the times you can expect in port, what the ports are like, and which one at the end we would suggest. Okay,
so let's start off with the Bliss's itinerary.
I got it. You leave from Seattle.
You do leave from Seattle, then you have a sea day, then you go to Sitka, then you do Juneau, then you do, on the same day you do Juneau, you stop at Dawes Glacier, then you have Icy Strait Point, then Ketchikan, and then you end the following night in Victoria before heading back to Seattle. Now, for the Encore,
you leave out of Seattle.
Then you have a sea day, so same there. Then you have Juneau, then you have Skagway, then the following day you have Glacier Bay, then you have Ketchikan, and then the last day you end the night in Victoria. Now, I think the biggest things to note is they both stop at Juneau.
On the same day.
On the same day, but the key here is that for the Bliss, for Juneau, you are there from 7 a.m. to 1:30. So if you're planning on going to the restaurants or the bars, which we've enjoyed, or any of those kind of things, stuff isn't quite open yet. Where the Encore, you pull in and you're there from 12:30 to 11 o'clock at night. So everything is open. You can do whatever you want. If you want to try some food, you don't have to worry about things being open. I think that's a really big plus. Also, if you have kids or anything, that arrival time in Juneau is pretty early. And for NCL, the port, you can walk it. It's a little over a mile from where you get off to get into like downtown Juneau, or you have to take a bus. So you also have to factor in that. You're gonna probably wait in a line. You're gonna then have to take like a 5-ish minute bus ride into town. So just, you're factoring that in when you're thinking about all the timing there.
So if you do the Bliss's itinerary, you go to Dawes Glacier in the afternoon on Juneau. If you get in, we didn't get in because there's too much ice. Very pretty from the pictures we've seen and the videos we've seen. It's a beautiful glacier that you get to cruise by. Now on the Encore, on the other hand, you go to Glacier Bay National Park. which is awesome. They bring a ranger on the ship who does talks throughout the time going through Glacier Bay.
The fact that it's a national park, I think, is the big thing to note, because A, you're seeing another national park, and B, that ranger. They give you a lot of information about what you're seeing, a lot about the glaciers, about the wildlife, where Dawes Glacier, you don't get any of that extra knowledge. So if that's something that I think that you're really, really into, learning all that stuff, I think Glacier Bay is a huge, huge plus. And that whole day was sailing. Like
it was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Like the views were spectacular. So you like go in to like the fjords area, then you see the glacier. They kind of circle several times. I'm assuming for Dawes Glacier they circle several times as well. But like Jack said, it was too icy, so we couldn't make it in when we went. But it seemed very like pretty dry, pretty sail in, see it, and head back out, because we had done Juneau the day before. So it definitely was not like a full day of just let's sit here, look, learn, see. It was just a later day. And also with it being Juneau in the morning and then that, if we could have gotten in, I don't think we would have seen the glacier until like 7 o'clock probably.
Probably.
So that's also just something to keep in mind if you're doing dinner that night, or if you had scheduled any specialty dining or shows, that it's something to just factor in with seeing it.
So with regard to Ketchikan, which is probably our favorite port.
One of them.
One of them. The town is beautiful. Very colorful. No matter which itinerary you do, you have a stinky time in Ketchikan. You're in super early, and you have to be back on the ship by 1 o'clock-ish, and it takes about 30 minutes to get to town once you get on a bus, and so there's usually a line, and then it's 30 minutes back, and there's always a line coming back. So you lose a good amount of time, almost 50% of the time you're in port is waiting in line or riding a bus, so you're really only there for a couple hours.
And you pull in at either 6:30 or 7 o'clock is when you can get off. So you gotta be up and at 'em that morning and getting off as soon as possible to then wait in the line for the bus. Or honestly, I would suggest booking an excursion for that one and trying to get like the earliest one. We had done the Lumberjack show and the very first showing, so we were able to get into town as soon as possible. Didn't really have to wait on a line because of that.
It was also COVID.
No, I know, but if you had an excursion, they were prioritizing those people
true.
before they were like letting just anybody that wanted to explore the town. Granted, we did get there and there wasn't much open. We had like 45 minutes before the show to explore, but we were in town the second that show finished. We were like, okay, we're gonna go and explore. We're already here. By that point, things started to open up, but we didn't have much time.
Okay, one of the port stops that is technically a port stop, it's really not much to do. You don't have a lot of time there, is Victoria. So part of maritime law is if you leave from the U.S. on an internationally flagged ship, you have to stop at a different country before you can come back to port in the U.S. So that's why on the Seattle-based Alaska cruises, you stop in Victoria. It's literally just they stop for a couple hours and then they get back on the water, head to Seattle.
It's about 8 o'clock at night till 11 or midnight.
Yep.
So there is stuff to see in that town. It is beautiful, but you do get there at night.
One note though, when you are in port in Victoria, only one bar is allowed open per floor, which can be tough if not many people get off the ship and everyone wants to use those bars. Additionally, you do pay tax while in port in Victoria. Okay, now the biggest difference. The Bliss stops in Sitka and Icy Strait, and the Encore does Skagway.
So technically the Bliss does one extra stop, but personally, my favorite stop, I believe, was Skagway. It is beautiful. There's so much to do, whether you have an excursion or not. And
I got to walk the streets as a lady of the night.
You did. And we did some hiking there. It was just a really, really pretty town, and you miss out on that if you do the Bliss. Where for the Bliss, you do Sitka, which was a lovely town. We didn't have as much time there. I know there was a lot of things that we could have done and seen. Again, that was another bus situation where Skagway, you can walk into town. There's no bus that you have to wait for. And that was a pretty town. I have nothing bad to say about that town at all. Icy Strait is your other stop.
It's kind of like
It was pretty. It was very, very pretty.
Yes, it's very, very pretty. It's not like a traditional Alaskan town like Ketchikan or Skagway or even Sitka was. It's kind of almost, it reminded me a lot of when you're doing a Caribbean cruise, you stop at the private islands for the cruise line.
And that's probably because it is a newer stop and it was built for the cruise ships. So you have everything from gondola ride to the adventure park where you've got the like ropes course and the zip lines. You've got a very small free museum, lots of shopping where you can get clothes, and they had some native artists as well that you can get some stuff. There was like a cookout experience you could do. It just seemed, it was gorgeous, but it seemed very touristy.
Now for what everybody's been waiting for, Emma. Which one would we suggest you do if you're going to Alaska?
Drum roll. I would pick the Encore. I personally, for some reason, like the ship better. I think your stops are better, even though it is one less stop. And
You get Glacier Bay National Park.
you get the national park, you get Skagway, which is amazing. Your only like touristy one, I would say, is Juneau. If you had to mention one as a super tourist trap. Obviously, both are great. Go with what works for you, for your schedule, and what your family
Yep.
would be interested in.
We've now done both, and I think we would do the Encore again. I don't think we would do the Bliss itinerary again.
No. Unfortunately.
Let us know your thoughts below if you've done either one, or if you've done both, which one you would choose.
So, till next time, get out and live a little. Bye, guys.
Hey, look at our sign.